Hi guys, welcome to my channel. A little bit more of an update, and apparently my last video the volume was too low for some reason, so we will just try this again. There are court docs out on this, and it's becoming apparent that Rachel Henry was quite depressed with her life, and apparently, I don't know when she got on the drugs or the meth, but the death of her mother in 2018 left her spiraling out of control, and she turned to drugs and lost custody of her children at that point. Then she and her fiance moved with her 3 children from Oklahoma to Arizona. And they say, we don't really know why she moved there, but apparently her fiance has family and friends there. And it's not quite sure if the Child Protective Services were involved with the children still, with visits and making sure that she is stable enough to take care of the children. But they did return the children to her. Did they return them knowing that she was still on the drugs and no improvement? Was she stable? Was she having drug tests done on her at a regular basis? Did they pop in unannounced? There are pictures of her. She looks quite normal. And there's the picture. She's only 22 and have 3 children. They're not sure if all 3 children belong to the fiance or it's just the 2 younger children, as one of them has a different last name. So she moves to Arizona, Phoenix, with her fiance, with the children, knowing she does not have any money or a job. So maybe the fiance had a job lined up and they were going to live with some relative of the fiance, by the sounds of things, and it looked like it was a crowded house. But maybe that was a stepping stone, and later would, give them time to look for some cheap place to live for now. They must have had a car. I don't know if they got a rental to move any furniture or those kind of things, or just packed up what they had in a car. The move might have been a sudden move, a new start. Maybe if they moved, that she'd get off the drugs. They had no money, so where was she getting the drugs from, and who was paying for them? Was the fiance on drugs also? We don't know if any family members living in that home were into drugs neither, but so that's just a little bit more information on that. As we know, on Monday, the police arrested Rachel for killing her children, allegedly suffocating them. Apparently, one of the adults in the home, they're calling her an aunt, So maybe this is an aunt of the fiance. But I'm almost sure that one of them is related to the fiance. She has said that she had to go pick up somebody from somewhere and she'd be back. When she came back, she had the child in her arms and one of the little girls was sleeping, apparently sleeping. But as we know now, I think the child was dead. And she has said that she sang a song until the child was not moving anymore. All of a sudden, she snapped. All of a sudden, she snapped because she didn't have a job or any money. I'm just finding that a little hard to swallow right now, that she just snapped. There's got to be things leading up to it. Depression, some mental health issues. She was not well, obviously, not well at all. And the family did see strange things happening about her. She's not acting right. Not acting right since when? Since when? Apparently they moved there sometime during the summer in June. So she hadn't been living there but 7 months or so. So when did she start acting strange? Did she get off the drugs and then suddenly get back on them? But she had no money. She said so. She had no job. But she got the drugs from somewhere. So she had money to get them from somewhere. So this investigation is going on now, and things are starting to be retracted from her initial confession, because it seems like she was under the influence of something when she first got before a judge to set the bail. And her photo shows that she was under the influence at the time. So that's probably going to come into some legal stuff and retractions. But looking at her words slurring, she's not quite understanding what's going on. It's not an excuse, but just seeing, what's going on at the time. I don't know why she was thinking that she had no choice but to end the lives of her 3 children, which would not get her nowhere, but in jail. A Facebook page from Rachel's 30-year-old fiance said the couple became engaged in May 2019. He shares a last name with only the youngest child, and it's not clear if he's the father of all 3. So he may be only the father of the youngest child at this time. So maybe she has 3 different fathers to these children. I don't know. He and another adult and aunt were at the home. So it is the aunt, and it looks like it's the fiance's aunt. And that's where they discovered the children. And they go on to say that, Rachel's mother died in 2018. Family members of her fiance said Rachel was deeply affected by the death. Both she and her fiancé became addicted to meth. When the mother died? According to her family members, so they're both on meth. They're both addicted to meth. So here you go. They're both addicted to meth. So this family took them in knowing or unknowingly knew they were addicted to meth. According to family members and friends in Oklahoma who spoke to reporters with the family, friends, in 2018, the children were placed in Oklahoma Department of Human Services custody due to unsafe home environment because of a domestic violence and substance abuse by both parents. See, but they gave the children back. They gave the children back. And did they go through a drug and rehab treatment? Because they probably would have, because social services would have said, you know, you got to clean up, and there's domestic abuse going on, but that might have been through the drugs, and it was unsafe for the children, yet they gave them back. Now, did they follow the rules of the Child Protective Services to go through treatment? And you won't get your kids back until you can prove that you are fit again and your home is safe. Well, they gave them back, didn't they? But the thing is, did they run away from the state of Oklahoma when they were not allowed to? Because the children were still being protected by the social services, and the case was not closed. We don't know if the case was closed or not. So somebody's going to have to answer questions because these 3 children are now dead. And the agency on Wednesday said it's reviewing any contact with that occurred with Rachel and her children, and it's conducting an internal assessment. The assessment will remain confidential, like I thought. Anything to do with the social services is going to be put under seal while this initial assessment investigation goes on. At the time of the deaths, the children and Rachel Henry were not in the custody of the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. The department said in a statement that the OKDHS has been contacted by Arizona law enforcement and is cooperating fully with the efforts. And the hometown is stunned by arrest. The news of Rachel's arrest spread quickly in Prague, in Oklahoma, which has a population about 2,400 and located an hour east of Oklahoma City. One of the residents that owns a service station off Main Street recalled that numerous times he and his father helped Rachel with free car repairs and gave her rides around town. He said that sometimes she seems to be walking up and down town Main Street, often looking lost and confused. She seems like, lost and confused. She seems like she's out of it, I guess. That's what they're saying. Well, she's probably high on drugs. customers in and out of the service station, he says, we're talking about Rachel's arrest. I don't see how anybody could do that, Holick said. I knew they were kind of shady. So he's saying they were kind of shady, knowing that, they're up to no good and probably that they were on drugs. But to kill your kids, I just can't believe that. Andy Lee, who operates Prague Times Herald, said that while he was delivering the morning newspaper, several customers asked him what he knew about Rachel Henry. People are definitely in shock that she's from here. Lee said, I have no memory of her personally, but one of my sons went to high school with her. It's just sad and strange behaviors in the days before the murder. They moved from Oklahoma to Arizona in 2019 in June. The couple lived in a pale yellow manufactured home on a lot in South Phoenix with 3 children and a 49-year-old woman identified in court documents as an aunt, either to Rachel or the fiancé, but they're saying that she has no ties to Arizona, so it's probably the fiancé's aunt at this time, but that's not confirmed. Rachel didn't work and told the judge during her initial court appearance that she doesn't have money. Yeah, she said she doesn't have money, but she had money for drugs though, didn't she? Yes, she had money for drugs, and it's unclear right now if the fiancé was on drugs, but they both had a meth addiction. Family members told police that Rachel Henry has a history of methadone addiction and had been acting strange in the last several days. There are pictures left at the Groeman Memorial outside the home, showed that the children with heads of thick dark hair and wide dark brown eyes. The photos were left in plastic bags for protection from the rain, and a large collection of stuffed animals and balloons and flowers and prayers, candles. The middle child was turning 2 in a week. Rachel was left alone in the home when she smothered her children, according to the court documents. She told the police she wrestled with the child before placing her hand over her daughter's mouth. The daughter kicked in protest as 3-year-old Zane yelled at his mother to stop and tried to punch her in the face. See, these children had seen something like this before, probably, and this child knew she was doing harm to his sister and tried to save her. But she waited for the adult to leave the house, the last adult to leave the house before she did this. And Rachel was unfazed and continued to smother the little girl until she stopped breathing, according to the report. And she left the body in the back room. She then chased Zane down, told the police she was stopped when the aunt and fiancé returned home. So this little boy was alive. I wonder why that little boy didn't shout out that Mama's hurt his sister. But the court documents say they unknowingly sat in the next room as Rachel changed the boy's underpants, straddled him with her legs and smothered him as she sang to him. He scratched his mother's chest and tried to pinch her to get her to stop. She next fed the 6-month-old a bottle in the bedroom until the baby fell asleep again. Rachel Henry sang a song while smothering the child to death. She then goes and placed the bodies of 3 children on the living room couch as though they were taking a nap. She didn't tell the fiancé or the aunt what happened according to the court documents. A female called 911 at around 9:20 p.m. Monday to report the 3 children were dead. But there's another report saying that that a call was called but didn't know exactly what was going on. Like somebody said they thought it was a drowning or something. So they were unclear to what really was going on, how the children were dead, that is. But the police came, the response team came, but it was too late. They could not be revived. It was too late. They were gone. Oberman, who wrote 2 books on the subject of filicide, said many of the women who commit those murders are often isolated in their motherhood and have mental health issues or previous trauma, which in this case it looks like that to be so, with the mother dying. She's got no money. She's got 3 children. The CPS has been involved. She's on drugs, that kind of thing. They may not have anyone to turn to for help and spend long hours alone with the children. Drug problems may further aggravate existing issues, Aldeburn said. The isolation of moving to a new place and the desperation that comes with having no money or a job would only make matters worse. See, if you have a situation and you have nowhere to turn and you have no money, no job, and you've been on drugs, and there's been allegations of abuse, unsafe living conditions, CPS is involved. Moving is not a good idea, because then you move yourself away from people you know and your neighborhood, which you can turn to people that know your situation and know you, that could help you better than moving to a place where you don't know people, you don't know how to get around, you don't know your way around. And then you live with people you don't know. You've made the situation worse, really, because you haven't dealt with the old situation. So it's, unless they were just running away from their problems in fear that the social services would take their children away for good. Who knows? So probably that has something to do with it. I mean, she was new in the town with a drug habit. But, it didn't take them long to find. If you're not looking for a job, it didn't find you long to look for your drug dealer, though. I'm not saying that in a horrible way, but, you soon found a drug dealer. And these children were all under the age of 4. I mean, she didn't have a job when she was in Oklahoma, did she? I don't know if she ever had a job. But there's one thing that we do know. She was a certified nursing assistant. So it doesn't mean that you can work as a nursing assistant when you get to from Oklahoma to Arizona. You have to then transfer your licenses from one state to another, and that takes a little time to do and may cost you some money, as you have to go and get a background check, which, you know, I've done that, and it does cost money. Like coming from Wisconsin to Florida, it costs you $100 to do an FBI check, which you have to do these days. And her having a drug problem and all these allegations of abuse and having her children taken away, this would be maybe very hard for her to pass a background check. Just saying. I know that they give you chances if you have a drug problem, if you go through treatment and pass the class, that they will give you a chance. It just depends what the situation is and if you did it on the job or not. And you know, when you work as a nursing assistant, you are around drugs. If you work in private care, you are around drugs, and there's nobody to hold you accountable, and you could take advantage of the client's drugs, which I've been around drugs a lot, and these people take some potent drugs sometimes, like morphine and stuff like that. But these drugs are accounted for, and you have to document them, each treatment. If you're working in a client's home, which I've done before as well, and it would be like a nursing home. Everything has to be documented, each dosage, and signed with your name on. And when another aide comes in, you go over the drugs and check them once and check them twice to cover your butt. Even though you have to trust each other, you still have to cover your butt. So when you work in a nursing home, the nurses do the same. They have to go through their drugs, and everything has to be accounted for. Even if you work in independent facilities, assisting living, you have CNAs who pass their drugs. If you don't live, I mean, there's independent, dependent living, and there's drugs to be passed out, and CNAs pass the drugs. And you too, as CNAs, even though you do not have an RN on duty, you pass meds like you would in a hospital, and everything has to be documented. So there might not have been much chance of her getting a job as a CNA, as that might be all she knows by the sounds of it. But I don't know if she was ever trying to get a job, actually, because she has 3 children, and who's going to be looking after the children? Because if she's hiding out and ran from the state of Oklahoma when she has a pending court cases, supervision from the social services, she probably shouldn't have left the state of Oklahoma. And she should have told them, so social services, wherever she goes, could keep an eye on them. So, there's a little iffy there, and that's probably what's happened. And maybe she couldn't get a job because they'd find out where she was living. So that could be the case. I'm just giving my opinion, all alleged, but that's just my opinion how that works. But as they're saying that something has been overlooked here, and they saying, over time, there's blood on more than one hand. So it could be the father, the fiance, is going to be in trouble too, or some kind of trouble, but he's not the one that has killed the children. But how much involvement does he have accountable for Rachel's actions, knowing that the signs were there, something was strange, that she should never have been alone with those children? Somebody has turned a blind eye. Into the signs, the warning signs were there. The warning signs were there that she should never have been trusted with 3 young children. And how were the children acting around her? Was she taking care of the children? Was she neglecting them? The signs were there. She's on meth. And the state that she came in to the police station that day, she was highly drugged up. So the signs were there. She should never have been left with those children. And that's not to point the finger at anybody, but people's got to take note of this. Take note of this. Don't trust them with the children. Now, not everybody that's on drugs kills their children, but she's acting strange. This is the time when maybe you should have called social services up. I don't know how much that the family knew about the drug addiction, the abuse, the neglect, the social services taking away their children. I don't know how much they knew. That is all up in the air. But they have lived there for over 6 months. So, and they've been taking drugs, and they're both addicted to them. But at this time, it's unclear whether the fiance was on drugs. But like I said, they got the drugs from somewhere, and where did they get the money from? Maybe the fiance was working. I guess he had a job, because nobody's going to give you money to go spend on drugs. I don't know how much they were given towards the family for help for food and clothes. Were they saving up to find their own place? How much savings did they have? She said she had no money and no job. She had no money and no job. But if she has a fiance and he's going out to work, then he's providing for them. So she did have money. She did have money. That's all I'm saying. The heartbreak of it all is the aunt had left the house to pick up somebody, like I said. But the heartbreaking part of this is, which Rachel Henry admitted to, smothering each child, starting with the 1-year-old, which is 102, which they say she was 2, but they're saying she's 1, so maybe she's close to 2. That Rachel Henry told the investigators the girl kicked her as she smothered her, while the toddler's son yelled and punched her to try to stop her, according to her statement. That's the heartbreaking part. And so, guys, we're going to follow this case and see where it goes. We know she's not getting out on this $3 million bond. We know she's not going to make the 6% or whatever it is of $300,000. She stated she has no money and doesn't know where she's get this money, but the court is not concerned about that. She is where she is meant to be, and they will be giving her treatment to get off of this drug addiction. She won't be getting no more drugs as per se, only to make her comfortable and get her addiction under control. And in the next week or two, she'll be off them completely, and realization will set in what she has done. And if you take a look at her picture, her mugshot, and then take a look at a picture of her, a completely different woman. So guys, if you have children and you are on drugs, you can't take care of them. So please, give them up. Put them somewhere where they're going to be safe until you get your addiction under control. Don't end up like Rachel Henry, 22-year-old with 3 children. And they end up dead because the mother can't cope. No matter how hard it is, you have your good days and bad days. But the bad days are going to get more frequent. And you're going to go down and down the longer you're on the drugs. And meth is a very dangerous drug. Don't let your children suffer, no matter how much you love them. Show them you love them. Give them up. Give them up right now. If you're going down this path, seek help. It doesn't mean the social services will take your child forever. They try to put them with family. They will give you visitation. You show them that you can do the treatment, get off the drugs. And it's not going to happen overnight. This might take a year or 2. It just might well take a year or 2. But your children will be safe and alive. You will be able to visit your children and keep a relationship. But don't run from the problem. Seek help. And relatives, whoever knows about drug addiction, report it. Save the children. It's not that you don't love the person you're trying to get the children away from. It's that you do love them. And you love the children. And don't take it to heart when they hate you for it. Because this too is the drugs talking. Just remember that. Seek help. Help these people. Because the drugs are taking over their life. And there's no turning back. So guys, please, if you see this happening, the outcome is going to be the children are going to be abused, and the worst, they're going to be smothered and killed by the hands of the parents. And thank you guys for stopping by, and don't forget to like, share, and sub to my channel, and press that notification bell to be notified on upcoming cases, trials, solved, the missing, the lost.